What's up, YouTube? So, with all the Miami Dolphins preseason games out of the way, um, it's now time to start talking about, the people who are actually going to make this team and the players that I would like to make this team. We have to make our final cuts down to 53 by the 30th. So, I just want to kind of go over it. I do have the people I would like to keep. Now, there are a couple positions where I'm going to list a couple different names, and just one of them will probably make the team. We'll get into that. But we'll go by position. So, starting at quarterback, I think we're going to have to keep all three of them. I don't think it's smart to necessarily cut Teddy. He is a veteran, and Tua hasn't been in the league long, and Skyler is a rookie. So I think having a veteran presence like Teddy Bridgewater to, just kind of help Tua and Skyler develop and also help them prepare for games and everything like that, I think that's going to be very important. Obviously, Tua is our starter, and we cannot cut Skyler Thompson because we only have 1 year with Teddy Bridgewater, and I'm hoping that Skyler Thompson develops a little bit and he can step up and be our full-time backup quarterback for the next few years after this year is over. So that's kind of where I'm thinking there. So I think we have to stick with all three. Moving on to running back, I think that Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert are going to be our 1A, 1B. I think they're going to be our starting running back, so obviously they're going to be here. I would not keep Sony Michel, though. I don't think he's really shown all that much in preseason or in camp in comparison to some of the other guys. Plus, Mostert and Michelle both have some injury concerns. So I would definitely like to keep Myles Gaskin as our number 3 because he is a pretty reliable back. And then for our fourth spot, I'm kind of torn. This is one of the positions I was talking about where I'm going to have to list 2 different players because I want to keep 4 running backs because we're going to run the ball a lot. I'm kind of torn between Zavon Ahmed and Zaquandre White. I think, because I did watch the tape, and I do think that Zavon Ahmed is the better player right now, but we have 1 year left with him, and we're probably not going to re-sign him. Where with Zaquandre White, we have him for cheap for at least 3 years with a 4th year option. So that's where I'm kind of torn. And we might be able to keep Zavon Ahmed as our 4th running back and put Zaquandre White on the practice squad. But I am a little bit concerned about Zaquandre getting stolen off the practice squad. But same time, he is a running back. Running back value isn't super high. So you might be able to get away with it, but I don't know. But regardless, I do want a running back on the practice squad. So if we decide to keep Zaquandre White, Ahmed will get signed, so we can't put him on the practice squad. But if we do keep White, I would like to put Dokes on the practice squad. That's kind of my thinking. Fullback, we're going to stick with a fullback. It'll probably be Alec Ingold. He's just the better of the two. Not that big on John Lovett necessarily. Even though he hasn't played yet, but our running scheme is dependent on a fullback, so there's that. Wide receiver, I'm keeping 6. Our top 4 are pretty easy. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Cedric Wilson, Eric Izukanma. Those guys are untouchable. So they're definitely going to be here. Eric has had a great camp and preseason. But I do think that Cedric Wilson is our number 3 receiver, at least right now. But after that, Braylon Sanders has also had a good preseason and training camp. Tua seems to like him a lot, so I think he's probably our number 5 guy. But after that, this is another position where it gets real weird for me. You've got Lynn Bowden, River Craycraft, and Mohamed Sanu, I think are all very close, and I'm kind of having a hard time picking between them. I'm slightly leaning toward Lynn Bowden, just because of the type of offense that we're running. I think his athleticism and position flexibility could be pretty interesting with Mike McDaniel. He's a guy that can go line up at running back. He gives you value as a kick and punt returner. And he could even do some emergency quarterback things. You might be able to do some wildcat things with him. So I just think there's a lot you can do there. River Craycraft has been a guy that's kind of surprised me. He's had a really good preseason in camp. He knows the system, and he's just a really interesting player. I'm hoping that he can survive on the practice squad if we don't keep him. And then Mohamed Sanu is another guy that's followed Mike McDaniel around. He knows the system. He's a good blocker. He's a veteran. So it's really tough. I have a feeling that River Craycraft is probably going to be our sixth receiver, realistically, just because of Mike McDaniel. But I personally would prefer Lynn Bowden, just because I think we can do a lot of different things with him. But I don't know. Tight end, I'm keeping three of them. Mike Gesicki, Durham Smythe, and Hunter Long. Hunter Long wouldn't have been my first choice, but Tanner Connor got hurt, and Adam Shaheen is also on injured reserve at the moment. So those three are just kind of the guys. I wouldn't be upset if Sethan Carter made it over Hunter Long because he can play some fullback for you. But I kind of want to do something with Hunter Long just because we did draft him last year. I'm hoping he can kind of develop. He had a pretty decent last preseason game, so we'll see. I think Durham Smythe is basically our starting tight end, and then we're going to kind of use Mike Gesicki as kind of a we're going to do a lot of different things with him, really. He's more of just a big wide receiver. Moving on to the offensive line, I'll talk about the tackles first. Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson are obviously going to be here. And by the way, I did try to do a Greg Little film session from the preseason game last night, but it got blocked. I tried editing it a few different ways, and it just keeps getting blocked, so I'm just going to go over my thoughts on him here. Like I said, Teron Armstead and Austin Jackson are definitely going to make this team, and I would like Greg Little to be our swing tackle over Larnell Coleman. I would risk putting Larnell Coleman on the practice squad and just hope we can keep him, but if not, it's not really that big of a deal to me. I think some of the undrafted guys would be fine as well, whether it be Blaze Andrews or who's the other one? Blanking. Kellen Dyche, yeah. Either one of those two, I think would also be fine. So those would be my three tackles: Teron Armstead, Austin Jackson, and Greg Little. And then I would keep four guards: Liam Eichenberg, Robert Hunt, Robert Jones. Those three are for sure. And then, honestly, I think this last preseason game where we showed a little bit more of our offensive scheme, I think Solomon Kinley actually played pretty decently and showed that he actually can do some second-level blocks and stuff like that. So I would keep him as your other guard. And the good thing is Liam Eichenberg and Robert Hunt can play tackle for you in a pinch if you need them to. And then center is easy. You have Connor Williams and Michael Dieter. They're the only two centers we have. I don't know how well Connor is going to play center, but it's what we're hoping from him. If he has to slide over to guard, it is what it is. And Michael Dieter is the only player on the Dolphins roster that has played regular season games at center, so we definitely can't cut him. So that's kind of my thought. So I'd be keeping 3 tackles, 4 guards, and 2 centers. So 9 total offensive linemen on the active roster. Moving on to defensive line, this is specifically like the big boys. I'm keeping 4 of them. Christian Wilkins, Raekwon Davis, Zach Sealer, and John Jenkins. I'm hoping that Benito Jones can survive on the practice squad if he gets picked up, because he had a really good preseason. But someone's going to have to lose here. It's just unfortunate. And if you want to count Emmanuel Ogbah in that, I don't hate you. I put him at edge. He's obviously making the team. It's just he kind of does both things. So let me kind of talk about the edge rushers. I have 6 edge rushers. Sorry, I'm sick. I have 6 edge rushers: Emmanuel Ogbah, Melvin Ingram, Jalen Phillips, Cameron Good, and Andrew Van Ginkel are all for sure making this team, all 5 of them. And then I also kept Porter Gustin. I think he's had a really good camp. Him and Darius Hodge have had very good camps and preseason. But I would personally keep Porter Gustin over Darius Hodge, only because he gives you the position versatility of being able to play linebacker as well, not just as a pass rusher, but like he can actually drop back and do some Sam linebacker type things in a pinch. So that's where I kind of give him the nod. I think him, Andrew Van Ginkel, and Cameron Goode can all do that. And I think that's going to be helpful for special teams as well. And then for our linebackers, I have Jerome Baker, Landon Roberts, Channing Tindall, and Sam McGuavin. Sam McGuavin always just does barely enough to stay on this team. And Channing Tindall, we cannot put him on the practice squad. He's too athletic. Someone will pick him up. And I want to see that guy develop. Jerome Baker and Landon Roberts are going to be our starters this year. It just is what it is. And Sam McGuavin's probably going to just be a special teams guy for us for the most part. But he is pretty decent depth as well. So those are my linebackers and defensive linemen. So I'm keeping 4 D linemen, 6 edge rushers. But again, it's weird with the Dolphins because we move people around so much. If you wanted to put Emmanuel Ogbah considered as a defensive lineman, I don't hate you. And also, if you wanted to put Cameron Goode and Porter Gustin as linebackers instead of edge rushers, I wouldn't hate you. It's just that position versatility. And Sam McGuavin has also played a little bit of edge rusher for us, too, in pinches. So, that's a thing. Corner, I'm keeping 6 on the active roster. I'm keeping Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and Nick Needham. Obviously, those are our 3 starters. But after that, I'm going with Keon Crossan. I'm keeping Cater. And because of the injuries, Noah Igbenogany, I think, has to make this team. He plays a little bit of special teams for us. I think D'Angelo Ross has not been super great for us, so I don't think he stays here. And I'm not that big on Quincy Wilson either, so I think that Noah's just going to have to be our last guy. But Keon Crossan and Cater have both had very good camps. Elijah Hamilton is a pretty decent player too, but I think Crossan and Cater are better. So that is what that is. And then at safety, I'm keeping 4 of them. Keeping Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, and Eric Rowe. Hopefully Eric Rowe's okay. I did see him kind of pull on his shoulder a little bit in the preseason game last night. I haven't seen what that's looking like. Actually, let me pause this real quick. All right, I'm not seeing anything about him being injured, so I'm not going to make too big of a deal out of it. But like I said, I'm keeping Brandon Jones, Javon Holland, and Eric Rowe as our top 3 safeties. Brandon Jones, obviously, are starting strong. Javon are starting free. And Eric Rowe is there to kind of do, big nickel things. And he is a guy who can play free and strong a little bit. So he is both a backup and also just a rotation guy for both positions. But after that, it gets a little bit interesting. I think Clayton is really good for special teams, but Elijah Campbell has really, stepped up for me, and for me, he is our 4th safety. That's just kind of my thinking. But yeah, and Clayton, I think, could probably survive on the practice squad just fine if we need to pull him up as well. So same with Verone McKinley. But Verone McKinley's kind of had a rough preseason, I'm not going to lie to you. And in special teams, there isn't really much to talk about. We have Jason Sanders, Thomas Morstead, and Blake Ferguson. There's no position battles there at this point. We have our punter. So those guys are just what they are. So, that's the 53 that I would like to keep. It sucks because no matter what, we're going to have to lose guys that we like. There's a lot of receivers in this group that I really like. Like, I love Lynn Bowden, River Craycraft, and Muhammad Sanu. I like Trent Sherfield. But we can't keep them all. It's just not possible. And what really sucks is that I have to keep Greg Little, who I can't stand, or Larnell Coleman, who I can't stand. But then I have to let go of one of those receivers. Probably going to have to lose Darius Hodge, who I really like. It just team building can kind of suck sometimes. But it is what it is. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, appreciate you hitting that like button. If you have any questions or comments in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.